So an important part of our relationship with the REACH companies is we want these companies to come in and understand standards, because that helps them scale, to not just build a product in one market and think it's going to be exactly the same in every market. So when they learn about standards early in the process, it gives them a capability to understand how that's going to look long term, because as you know, the capital in these companies is limited. They've got a runway. They've got a certain amount of time. So it's best that they can understand what we do at RESO early on in their process, which is why we offer a complimentary 2-year membership to companies going through the REACH program and a free ticket to an event to make sure they can get here, understand that part of the process. And the goal is to have more of these companies survive and bring benefits and bring features to you. So we're really happy to have that relationship. We're gonna start work groups now. We've got 3 work groups this afternoon before Web API office hours. So we're gonna start with R&D, but first we're gonna see a video from one of our sponsors, and then our chairs will kick it off.
If you're shopping for a home, you could browse hundreds of listings, or you could compare home details all at once. Home values to find that hidden bargain. Lot sizes for more room to play. Year built for that mid-century original. And market hotness to buy in the hot neighborhood before it's a hot neighborhood. Search in full color and find the home that has it all. Home search will never be the same again.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Greg Moore and John Breault. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that actually worked.
Yeah, we got a clicker, huh, John?
Work group meetings when everybody slowly eases out of the room.
Well, welcome to R&D. I think we'll just kind of jump in. My name's Greg Moore. In my day job, I'm the CTO at RMLS in Portland, Oregon. I guess the one thing I can tell you is I've had the pleasure of working in this real estate tech business for 38, almost 39 years. And I mean, you can see from printing books in the mid-'80s when I started to the AI presentations and really what's going on in our space. And it's really amazing and cool. And I think R&D has been really a great place for me to spend time and donate time, because you learn as much as you give, at least in my humble opinion. And this is kind of where things start. So we'll talk about that. And I'll let my friend Mr.
Oh, yeah. Excellent. So I'm John Breault.
Tonight.
Yeah, so that's the picture for any of you people who came to the spring conference and we had the RESO band. That's the bass face that I make when I'm up there playing. So I grabbed that from the last one. That was before we knew there was going to be a reunion. So now it feels like a shameless plug for tonight's event where we'll be reuniting. So make sure you stop by to check that out. So yeah, John Breault, Vice President of MLS with statewide MLS in Rhode Island. Like Greg, I've been in the industry for 38 years. I don't look as old as Greg. So the years have been kinder to me, I guess, Greg, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Let's admit that, John. Think of that. I mean, it's almost frightening. 76 years of these old guys standing here. That's a little funky. So let's jump. I mean, obviously, it's a work group meeting, so we'll start with the antitrust policy. I'm sure you've heard it a million times, but just to keep everybody out of trouble, we'll run through this. RESO strives to increase competition in the marketplace and will not be a forum for anti-competitive conduct. The RESO antitrust policy governs the activities of RESO and its members, including this meeting. A link to the policy was emailed to you with the meeting agenda. Please consult RESO's counsel if you have any questions about the policy. And if you haven't heard that like 10 or 12 times, you just, somehow have really missed this. So let's talk about R&D and really, where we fit. And as, you'll hear from many folks, we're kind of the top of the funnel. So, we're very open to really any thoughts or ideas to improve, the standard, to extend the standard, to, and pain points in those kinds of meetings. You'll usually see John and I hanging out because that's where we're taking notes to see if there are business cases that, we need to bring forward here and have the work group really get together and do some legwork, and then they usually move on. Transport takes a lot of our stuff. Data dictionary will take things. Many of the other work groups, UPI really was a spin-off from many, many years ago of R&D. So, you know, it's you guys bringing the good ideas, and John and I, you know, kind of stewarding a bit with your help to get them, you know, really well defined so they're actionable items. And we'll talk about some of that. So as you can see, kind of here is kind of how the funnel works, right? And it always starts with the members, because, you know, you're implementing standards, you're consuming data, you're an MLS that's providing data, all of the things, you know, over the many, many years, and all the hats we wear really make this work. And as you can see, broker advisory is another great funnel topper for us. I mean, you know, you've got the brokers really who are those ultimate data consumers, be it, you know, their websites for, you know, out there, or really their back office tools, because I mean, that's really where the data also comes alive. Anything, John?
You're knocking it out of the park, Greg. I'm just.
Oh, thank you. And I mean, as you can see, it kind of works through a process to, you know, implementation. Usually, you know, some things go back to the board, so we can get, you know, some ratification also. So we've got a couple of things that we're working on. And one really, this came out of the idea of new construction. And I mean, you know, we've had many of us work on, you know, really defining specific fields for new construction and stuff like that. But really, what we put together, and it's something that in Portland that we have actually implemented, and it seemed to resonate, was the idea about a new construction, you know, or new development information. So the premise for our use case was, you know, as you see, you know, the big lot on the corner of Main and Maple or something, and now they're rolling bulldozers, you know, what's going to happen there? And so it really talks more about the profile of normally what that subdivision is going to look like. How many units are they building? You know, what are their different models? Are there 3-bedroom, 2-baths, and, you know, 2-bedroom, 2-bath townhouses going in? What's kind of the price range? You know, what maybe will the community have to offer? So it's really almost that pre-marketing. And the way we really do it is, you know, the next thing they put up once they start working on the land is a sign. And it usually refers to a real estate specialist who's going to represent the builder. And that's where we get the data. And it kind of came out of frustration. If you think that, you know, you call your favorite realtor and say, well, what are they doing down the street? And, you know, so they've got to get in their car and get there and take a look at the sign and then call the agent and get some information. So this profile really empowers the agents out there to have information and really kind of begin that also pre-marketing piece of the new development.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, too, I mean, we all sort of handle these in similar but slightly different ways, right? Like, how do we handle developments now? It's like they put in maybe a representative sampling of listings where they enter one that's, you know, representative phase B or this, whatever it is. And then, you know, either that one sits in there and then they, you know, some MLSs, they copy it to report that one is under agreement. And so then you have this thing that's sitting there accumulating days on market and all that. Or, you know, it's handled a variety of different ways. And it's slightly a bit of, we're trying to take this structure that's built around like a single listing and apply it to this development. And it's a little bit of a square peg in a round hole. And so this does, you know, sort of look at that from the top down. And, you know, what's interesting about this is, you know, it's sort of, there's a common theme in some of the work groups that are working on different problems right now. Like we've got the ADU subgroup looking at accessory dwelling units, and there was another group, I can't think of it. I sit in on all the groups and listen, and I get them all mixed up. But the thing that seems to be sort of similar is a lot of us, we're looking at this structure now that kind of takes this thing at the top, whether it's like, you know, a piece of property that has an associated ADU or a development that has a number of listings associated with it. So it's almost like there are several work groups that are kind of working on the same thing, you know, and they're coming at it different ways. So maybe there's an opportunity for us to look at this sort of structure and apply it to what these three or four different groups are doing, that it can accommodate all these needs.
And I mean, you guys see it around the fringes of every city. I mean, they're building like crazy. And I mean, the more we can empower the real estate professional to have that information and make it convenient and actionable is really the idea here. Like John said before, they put in, the model home or two that go into the MLS next. So it's something we're working on. We're talking about it. Last meeting, it seemed like people were kind of starting to resonate with this idea of really kind of front loading, right? And instead of now they're building, and you've got something to take a picture of, et cetera.
So one of our asks here is obviously if you're interested in getting involved in helping us work through this problem, if you have a solution you've already implemented, I mean, this is an interactive, it's a work group session, so we'd love to have you speak. So if you have any thoughts or ideas on what we can do or what you're doing in your market that might help this, we'd love to hear it. So don't be bashful. Raise your hand if you have anything to add to this.
Yeah, there's a sample form out on Confluence that backs us up, at least the form that we created. We've had it in our marketplace, I think.
You're raising your hand?
3 years? Yeah.
Make sure you speak up so that everyone, if you don't mind.
We can repeat for you, Catherine. Go on.
Oh, you can repeat. All right, fine.
Did it come up in the discussions on this, whether or not if pre-construction units could be in the MLS, that status could be applied to it in a way that the actual units themselves could be put up? Because they know what's going to be available, and so have it per unit and not per development.
Well, I mean, I guess, so she's asking about sort of having it listed and have it be per unit versus per development. But I mean, in essence, we kind of have that already, right? That's what we're accommodating currently with listings, right? They're kind of, they're putting, but I mean, so this is, I mean, the answer is, it could be done, you could speak to your implementation.
Oh, I mean, we do.
I suppose you could, in theory, have just
propose.
Just spitballing, but a sort of a listing of a development, and then, like I said, various phases, and then the phases have units associated with it, and so that you could look at the whole thing and read, okay, yeah, these are the ones that are available now in phase 1, and phase 2 is, estimated to be on in, Q2 of 2025, and, and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, 'cause the big problem is you never know what's really available. You see the
Yeah.
unit, and you never know what's really available, but they know what units they have, and they should know if they're sold conditional, not sold.
So that's a good point. So the question is, you don't really know what's available, and I guess that again sort of speaks to some of the problems right now, because they just put in one listing to sort of represent everything, and they never update it, and you get a call, and it's like, oh no, we're all out of those, and it's like, well, why is that still active? Or because that's our representative one, and we don't want to make that pending or whatever. So it's a big mess, and I think that's where that type of input would, if we could apply that to this kind of solution to make it more transparent and practical, would be excellent.
Yeah. Any other thoughts or questions? It must be like after lunch, food comas, right?
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. I don't think we moved. Yeah, so here's just, a sample of the form that we created to capture that data. And I say we're happy to share it with you. It'll be basically available for you guys online too, if you're interested in it. So it's really the subdivision profile, right? That's what we were really talking about. We do have like a proposed, like you're built, right? Well, it's not built yet, but you still have a listing that is proposed to be built. But that's that specific 4-bedroom, 3-bath, and it's not the it may be one of 50 of those they're building in that subdivision, but they're the other, 2 or 3 models that are going to come online also with that build. So the other thing we really did spend some time with quite a while ago. So what we did earlier this year is we went back actually in our archive and found some kind of parked business cases and dusted them off. We talked through a meeting and really let them help us rank and propose kind of what we could park and what has already kind of been solved or taken care of, or technology's already mowed that one down. To a few actionable items. And for some reason, new construction really bubbled right up to the top. So I think it's really, if you think in many places, it's where sales are coming online. The resale market in some places have kind of gotten quiet. Some of us old folks have mortgages that are way too cheap, so we're not moving. So they have to build new stuff, right? So, you know, and you say really statistically, if our friend Bill was here, he would tell you the exact number, but I mean, new construction really is sold by real estate professionals. And he's got a really cool product that he makes available to us. So really what we did is, you know, really a work group, and we can thank Bill probably for 99, if not 100%, of these recommended new fields that we would add to the data dictionary, very specific to new constructed homes. Because obviously they have some new profiles, et cetera. You can think about, you know, they're usually offices out there, so they're showing hours, and it's much, you know, more almost like storefront business-like when they're really selling out on a new development.
So we're pushing this one on to data dictionary, this portion of it, because this is just adding fields to the existing resource related to new construction. So
yeah,
that's when we're able to just.
So really as R&D, what we did really was go out and find some subject matter experts. We're very happy to have, you know, Builders Update with Bill, who was happy to share his knowledge, et cetera, for us. And you know, that makes data dictionaries work a lot easier, because as we were talking, really think about appraisals yesterday. You need the subject matter experts. They're building the products, running the algorithms, whatever it happens to be, so they know the specific information. You know, the builders and folks really know what the agents need to know about the new build.
You know, and the other thing is, not for nothing, but Bill's also the one who always does the great giveaway of the $100 bar tab as our first giveaway. So Bill, just for that alone, hey, that's great.
Yeah.
Wait, did you spend that yet? Just on, just on Greg alone. Well, again, get $3 ice cube, $3 neat upcharge. So
right.
I spent it on that.
So then,
okay, go ahead.
So another business case that came our way really was licensing display rules. You know, we talked, I think Olga hit in pain points yesterday about the idea of public and private permissions on things like images. And, you know, as we kind of move that forward, and you think about, you know, the MLS puts out a lot of information about our members at times to portals, et cetera. And right now, it's like a one-size-fits-all. You know, so if I put in my contact phone number, be it my home phone, my business phone, my cell phone, that goes out to the world, basically. Email addresses, all of those kinds of things. So, you know, the concept here was, can we give some granularity to the user, say in a user preference kind of thing? Well, here, you know, I want my name out there, obviously, but I don't want my contact phone. Use the business phone. So you can flag things as private. And we kind of built on that, because you think about gathering social type networks, you know, my Facebook page that I may run for my business, my LinkedIn page, you know, you name them, right, out there. And, you know, which ones do you want for your peer-to-peer networking, which is, you know, in the MLS, say on a roster or on an agent full report, and then things that basically go out in your data feeds. Because today, if we bring in kind of all those social links, if we're going to, you know, send out one, we have no control but to send out them all. So it really kind of takes that concept and moves it forward to give the agent control, you know, almost at a field by field level as to what information they're gonna, you know, you know, they want displayed out in those public spaces, and what can we filter out at the MLS side before they go out. Or kind of like a picture today, kind of a turn down order, right? I was marketing that property and all 50 of those pictures I wanted online. Well, it's sold and now I only want the first 2, so I can turn those 48 to, you know, private, which is supposed to tell, you know, all the data consumers in the world to basically take those pictures down. Don't display them anymore on the internet. And what it does is it keeps the value, right, of the comp base and everything else at the MLS. It helps the appraisal community it helps CMAs, it helps all of those internal products that real estate professionals really need, but it, keeps some of that privacy and, et cetera, because it's usually the buyers. The sellers are done, right? I marketed, they're out, but, the buyers sometimes, even think of floor plans, those kinds of things you may want to take down as soon as that property maybe even goes pending if you've got a solid offer. So you can kind of, keep some of that privacy rolling.
Yeah, so an MLS decides to implement something like that, right, and accommodate its customers and allow them to select privacy on various things. How does that then get sent out, right, with the data and then consumed by a data consumer, right? Obviously, there needs to be a standard wrapped around that so that when you're sending it out, you can trust that the data consumers will see that and then respect the wishes. So with that, we were talking about it, and I think maybe it's the next slide. Josh Darnell mentioned an existing RCP 35, which was really sort of put in place for the single feeds business case, which is the same kind of similar situation, right? We now have to accommodate, or we're working to accommodate one feed. And so how do we flag certain pieces of information in that feed that this is okay for IDX, but this is back office only, or it's okay for the broker to see these fields on these listings because these are their listings, but not anybody else. And so it was suggested that this tool might also help us accommodate the issue as well. So that's what we're kind of looking at, and if I have ULI on the top of this, which is throwing me off because that's not the right header there. Anyway, so if you're interested in being part of this and helping us sort of work through this solution, again, we're happy to have volunteers. And if anyone has any feedback or comments or questions. Yeah, so the question is, or the comment is, isn't it better to have the same sort of consistent tags versus public and private? Yeah, I think so for the purpose of the example, you're using public and private, but that may not make sense, right? Because it's not just public and private, there are nuances. So, but that's part of the work to be done is, these things are okay to be displayed on, VOW and all that. So that's an excellent comment. Thank you.
Yeah, and even the way we transport that, right? Either through the RCP or, like you say, some kind of flag that really does, work that through, because it's not really private as soon as I put it in the MLS. I'm sharing it with my peer group. You're absolutely right. So there's probably a better nomenclature. I was kind of leaning in at least to the concept of the image takedown. And trying at least to kind of, how do we get our head around this? And this is the good work that we have to do, because she's right. It's an idea that now needs to grow into something that really is, standard appropriate and really ready for prime time.
Yeah.
And, everyone out there, be it a vendor, an agent who has to go in and set flags, the data providers, all of those folks really have to have that one language. So, they're ready. Right.
All right, I'm going to throw an audible. We're not done with the meeting yet, but I think we're going to do a prize giveaway. We have a prize to give away. So let's mix things up here a little bit before we go on to our next topic. We've got a solar power bank, portable solar charger, which is hilarious because, Greg and I were talking earlier, my cell phone, I can't charge anymore. I don't know, you ever have that problem where the cord goes in and it just doesn't make a connection? So I saw that we had to give this away, and I thought, I could really use this. But, listen, all right, I got to give it away. It's from Pearl Certification. Is anyone from Pearl here in the room? If not, thank you for this. And so let's give this away now. And Jenna Woody, is Jenna here? First MLS, FMLS? Hey, all right.
Hey.
Excellent. And listen, If your cell phone works okay with your charger and you want to donate this to somebody in need, just saying. Thank you. All right, so we can go on to the next, right, our last. So this, you know.
Oh, sure.
All right.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm sorry, people on the live stream can't hear you. So if you have a question, you have to come up, grab the microphone, stand on the chair, ask your question and look into the camera. Oh, no, okay. No chair? Oh, no, all right, perfect. Yeah, no, just if you could, just so people can hear you on the live feed, and even in the room, it's kind of hard to hear, so thank you. So ULI, what's old is what's new, right? We've had the ULI for a while, and it's interesting because this came up yesterday, right? You heard in the broker advisory, Matt Hendricks from Zillow was talking about the pain point and the need to kind of create a unique ID and that. So I mean, we've actually done, as referenced in that meeting, we've done a lot of the work. We've actually, we created the algorithm with the fuzzy logic to do the matching and generate a ULI. And we have 5, 7 MLSs in the pilot that have contributed their data. We contributed ours, and we were able to see that the matching seems to work. And so we have that, but we need people to come in and do a few things, right? We need to kick the tires. One of the things we've talked about doing is developing a nice front-end interface for like the MLS staff to go in and play with it, because we're not, some of us aren't, I'm not great, behind the scenes with programming and all that. So a UI would help me, but if developers in the room who are willing to come in and sort of help take this and kick the tires, throw it at your own data. You can do that now. The code's available for you to grab and throw at your own data. And part of what was talked about, and I think maybe one of the challenges in looking at this is, this thought that we need somebody to kind of come in and take this and develop it. Like it's one organization and they're going to develop the ULI across the country and manage it, and it's a third party and all that. And okay, that would be cool. I mean, I guess ideally maybe that'd be great, but it feels like if we're waiting for that, it might just not happen, right? Unless RESO really invests the money to do that, and I don't know that RESO is looking to do that right now. But organizations can take this and spin it up with the spec and create, and this is where it starts to get a little technical for me, but you can take it and you could create your own node with like what they say is a resolver network, right? So even a group of MLSs could get together and sort of build this thing to deal with their area and create ULIs amongst them and have this resolver network so that as other areas come in, those nodes will communicate and then resolve the ULI across the various sort of pockets of this. So we don't have to wait for this to be a national solution. If you want to create a solution in your market, contact us and take a look at this and start kicking the tires and see if it'll help fix your problem. That website there, uli.reso.org, is where you'll see the white paper and more information about it. I probably jumped way ahead because I can tell I'm a little bit passionate about this. I love this. I could use it. I can't develop it. I don't have, we don't have the resources in mind, but I would love to have this. I mean, just in my MLS alone, and probably many of you, we have people in there 5, 6 times, right? Because for whatever reason, they've got 5 offices, so I need to create the 5 different IDs for this person because they manage these and put them in, and it's ridiculous, wildly inefficient. And so just within even in one organization, having something like this to connect the dots, it would be wonderful. And so, all right, I'll get off my soapbox. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, if you really think of the use case, I mean, data shares are probably the one big one, right? I mean, because usually data shares are where borders touch. So you may, again, find that broker in each of those 4, 5, 6 MLSs that are exchanging information. And wouldn't it be nice to kind of be able, in a technological way, to almost deduplicate it? Because like John and I said, there's, thank goodness, only one John Breault in the world. He may be in everybody's roster for some reason, but there really is only one John Breault, and we're very blessed on both sides of that one.
Yeah.
But we won't mess with that. There is
I don't know if that's a good, you're complimenting me. No, I don't think that's good.
So Josh has, we've built a sample implementation. Like John said, we kicked the tires. We got kind of a bit of a crowdsource, but from across the country. So it's like most of us didn't touch. Northwest was kind enough to give their data so we could look at our overlap, from the Portland or Oregon area up into Washington. And I mean, it's but as you say, they're really, the only thing that has borders are MLSs, right? I mean, the practitioners out there are going to sell and do business where it makes sense for them. And, often it has to overlap MLS boundaries. So, I mean, how do we, as an organization, and like John said, really, there's some real practical use cases out there. And I know when John and I met with Josh to talk about that, we're all very motivated. So there's some help, there's some technical help, there's some time that we can give.
I feel like everybody would like this solution, and just there are a limited number of people that can commit the time or the resources to develop it, but we're really sort of begging or pleading with those folks that can help pitch in to do that, just for the sort of the good of the common cause here.
Of the business, yes. So, and this is just one of the many, as you guys know, unique identifiers. I think we're followed up by UPI, right? The unique property identifier.
Yeah, right.
Which again, there's pain and there's great use cases and business cases for that. We were talking this morning, I was with Sam in that work group. When you think about even lot splits and stuff. But I mean, that UPI really starts to kind of give you that life in the cycle of what that piece of property was and where it went, right? And now it's 25 parcels is in a subdivision. So I mean, there's a unique organizational identifier. So as you guys are sharing data, at least the downstream partners know where that listing came from. It could have come out of MLS listings, but it was fed by San Francisco in that data share, et cetera.
You got to stand on the chair if you want to speak. No.
Hi, Catherine McIntosh with Listed. My question is with the Universal Licensee Identifier, it would be so useful, I know, from a vendor perspective, not just an MLS or a brokerage perspective. So is there an idea of how it could be rolled out? Like, for example, you brought up, how does it go from one MLS to another? So many of us vendors touch multiple MLSs. So do we see a way that, how can we be armed with the ULI so that it's just something that how can we use it?
Well, I mean, but you may have touched on something. Really our technical partners, right? Instead of the multiple listing service, may be the folks that are much more equipped to stand something like this of scale up.
Yeah, like an AMS, maybe an AMS, when you go to create a record in your AMS, right? That's where it starts, that maybe they build it right into there. So as it's generating the ID for that individual, it's hitting the network and it's going out and it's seeing if that person exists anywhere else, which is what, the matching does. And then it gives you a rating and says it finds 3 matches and there's an 80% confidence score that this person exists within the network. And so then you can link that so then it doesn't have to create a unique ID, it links it to the existing one. But if it can't find it in the network, then it generates a ULI and sends it out so that if that person joins somebody else, then it's out in there. So an AMS would be a great example of that, but I don't know if that some have interest or if it's on their roadmap to do it. But this is what we're kind of hoping is somebody steps. But if they don't, like I said, if the group of smaller group want to build their own and stand it up, they can do that.
Okay, just secondarily.
Listed wanted to do it.
Yeah,
for
exactly. Because the reason I ask is, we have people we know are verified agents, and then we have people that we are not sure, right? Or people that have 6 different
Nerds IDs, or what used to be Nerds IDs.
Yeah, they exist 6 different times in official capacities, and we don't know which one to use. But the thing is, with the UPI, we can't do anything with that if the MLSs we work with don't employ it. So I just wondered if ULI have the same issue.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So what you could do, I mean, if you're getting, this is all really built off of roster data, right? It's not anything that, most MLSs have all this data. It's just all the standard roster data and license number and the NERDS or M1 number if they have it. And so for MLSs that are your clients, that are giving you that information, you could, in theory, if you want to be a ULI provider for your clients, you could create that and spin up your instance of this and you know, I mean, you're certainly free to do that so is that a yes? Is that what you're willing to do? Or you want to put it, we'll put you down. How many would you
Just the
like?
other question then is like, for example, could it go back to the MLS? We often have an agent who says, oh, I just changed my cell phone number. I wanted to change this information. And now that we have the different RCPs that would support potentially it even going back to the MLS. And
Yeah, well, that's
updated,
another thing too. Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Then that's just another point of truth that would then make the information truer.
It sounds like we got your juices, creative juices flowing here with the standards. So, you know, think about it. You can do, there are options. If you wanted to build a ULI generator and also try to work on a roster add edit where you feed that back, you could do that, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, I had another question about ULI. I was talking to somebody this week, and they were very concerned about unique licensees and also offices. Does the ULI involve offices at all?
Yeah, this really doesn't, I mean, we have the unique organizational ID already, but I don't know that it's at the broker level. I'd have to
No, I don't think
staff
it
on the
is.
spot, but yeah, that need was brought up to us, and so, you know, I don't see any reason why this same algorithm couldn't be used to do that, right? It's just, the logic is the same, it's just a different data set. It might be harder to match on office roster information because you've got sort of like a location and an address. You don't have like the individual's name and the individual's license number and some of those additional data elements that bump up the confidence, but it could still potentially find matches using that same
Here he
algorithm.
is. Here's our source of truth.
Well, you're all our source of truth. So, you know, licenses are not just licensees, but there are licensed brokerages in some states. The format's different, the offices are different. So it's not an you know, be-all, end-all sort of a solution. But that's, you know, you heard that broker advisory session. We need some more structures. We need some more brainstorming around this. As you pointed out, maybe the AMSs would want to get involved as it's their sort of front point for this. Maybe it's the MLS software companies who want to get involved. But we need someone near the account creation at the beginning of that process. So we're still in brainstorming phase. We've got a great model for the ULI for licensees themselves. That just needs organizations to get involved, but then more conversation about offices and brokerages and franchises and firms, and all that's welcome as well.
All right, we got 1 minute. Thank you,
Yeah,
Sam.
1 minute
We have
to go.
1 minute, so I guess we just sort of wrap it. No open discussion, no time.
Really
so we
no-
wanna- UPI is coming up next, so it's a nice little segue into UPI.
You got it.
But thank you, everybody, for
Thank
your
you.
info.
Yeah, R&D meets the first Thursday of every month.
Yep.
Help me, John. Is it 2 o'clock your time?
I don't
11
know,
o'clock
2
my
o'clock
time?
Eastern time, yeah, 2
Yeah,
o'clock Eastern.
11 o'clock Pacific time. It's really open meeting. If you've got thoughts or ideas, we invite you in. I mean, that's the thinking here. As you can see, we just kind of refine those thoughts and then, you know, move them forward normally. With ULI, we did go as far as building a POC, but that was pretty much on Josh's shoulders more than us, you know, but we had many of our participants at least give some data so we could all just kind of really check the code out. And it's out there, so, you know, feel free to reach out to, I think it's info@reso.org, or Josh,
Sure.
yeah.
Or dev@reso.org,
Yeah.
or anything at reso.org,
Yeah.
and it'll get through. So, all right, thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
everybody.